Guys, welcome to Building Wealth Beyond the Toolbox. Why real estate investing is a smart, decision for contractors. Now, the reason why we chose to do this is a very simple thing. Catherine Ruiz is not only the partner for Building Investors, but she is also a broker. She is also done flips and fix and flips, and she's also into construction. So there is so many hats that she wears, and she's a wealth of knowledge. So don't get fooled by that young, pretty face of hers. There is a lot out there, you know. So she's definitely someone that has so much of knowledge, which is why we pride ourselves being blue investors and having Catherine as our partner. So thank you, Catherine, for coming in, today. And this is where we like to pick your brains, because you are not only into multifamily investing, but you're also into fix and flips and construction. So how does this, tell us a little bit about your journey, Catherine, and let's then get into what made you get into multifamily. But initially, let's figure out Catherine.
Yes, got it. So, hi guys, welcome. I'm actually located in the Tampa, Florida area. So, if anyone is in Florida, type in the chat so that I can know. I actually started not as a realtor, not as a broker. I started flipping houses, and what I was doing was I wanted to quit my job. I worked at a call center. And when I quit my job, I decided to get into flipping. And I very quickly noticed that is not as passive as everyone kind of makes it seem. So what I did was I got my license so that I could sell my flips. And what I ended up doing was I went from flipper, realtor. Yeah, go ahead.
Catherine, now I will say this much. Those who want to speak in Spanish, feel free to do that, because Catherine absolutely is a Hispanic, and she can talk in both English and Spanish. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to talk. This is an open session. We are not here to preach. We are not here to teach. We are here to learn with you, and we are here to show what we bring to the table, what our experiences is. So please feel free to talk and share your experiences with us as well, because this is what this today's event is all about.
Yeah, make sure that you guys take advantage of that because a lot of the webinars that I usually attend, they just disable everyone and you don't really get to be interactive or ask questions. So if you guys have any questions, now's the time to, if you want to raise your hand, we can unmute you and all that. So definitely take advantage of it. So as I was saying, I started flipping houses, then I got my real estate license, I started selling my flips, and then I opened up my brokerage. What happened was in the state of Florida, contractors love to sue people. It's a very sue happy state. So I got tired of contractors trying to rip me off or give me change orders or just lie about pricing. And I decided to learn the construction side of it so that people wouldn't be able to take advantage of me. And what I ended up doing was taking the workers that were working on my flips and creating my own renovation company so that I could actually just control all sides of it, where I was finding the flip, actually renovating it with my own renovation team, and then I would sell it. So I would be able to take care of everything, and that way I could see all the different parts of it. Now, years go by, and while the money's great and it's fun to design the houses and it's really fun to do it, you get to a point where you start to get worn out because at the end of the day, it's an active income. You're still having to show up every day. You're still have to take care of the workers. You're still having to take care of the clients. So there's nothing passive about flipping houses, about rentals, about having a renovation company. There just isn't. So I wanted to figure out a way to make my life a little bit more passive. And that's when I started doing a little bit of research. And when I did the research, I came into multifamily. So I was always kind of preconditioned to believe that in order to buy a 100 unit, 200 unit apartment building, you had to have millions and millions of dollars or be a billionaire, something crazy. So my small little brain never comprehended that, hey, I could actually own an apartment building one day. And when I started doing research, I found out that most of the people that actually buy apartment buildings, they do it through what's called syndication. And what that is, it's just pretty much a couple of people that get together. It's a group of investors, and they put their money together and they end up buying the apartment building, and they get a loan for the majority of the money that's needed, and then they raise capital for the other portion of it. And that capital comes from your engineers, your lawyers, your doctors, your roofers, your contractor, anyone that has money set aside or a 401k or just money sitting that they want to invest. They pull it all together and then they invest and they get the apartment. So that's how that's done. And the concept was mind boggling to me because I never understood that that was even possible. And that's when I was able to get into the multifamily side and see, okay, if I make all this money on the real estate flipping and getting my commissions as a realtor, if I could get this money and then invest it onto the passive income side that's multifamily, then I can actually have my money work for me. And eventually it would get to the point where I could just live off of my passive income and just get to the point where I don't actually have to do anything. And that was the beauty of multifamily. And that's when I was like, it was amazing.
So let me ask you this, Catherine. That was a lovely story. Thank you so much for uh, kind of saying exactly what got you into. But you are a broker as well.
Mhm.
So you get access to a lot of these properties that you can fix and flip as well. Probably a lot of those because you're a broker, a lot of people probably come to you first, and they're probably be like, "Hey, what can you do about this one? I have this thing," and and I know that you are a person who likes to help people, and you. There are times when the seller would say, "Hey, I can't afford to, you know, do all this major renovations. So
Yeah,
maybe you just take that and you say, hey, I'll flip it for you, and then
right.
we can sell this thing and so on. So it's a much easier thing for you, I would think, Catherine. Just because you're a broker, things come to opportunities come to you. How difficult is it for a fix and flip person who takes this, that is his only job, and he's not a broker?
It's very difficult. It's very, very hard because if you don't have the construction experience, you'll go through the same problems that I did, which is contractors ripping you off, you not knowing what you should or should not replace. A lot of the times we have flippers that either over improve or under improve the flip, and they end up they putting too much money and they lose money on the deal, or they don't put the money where it should be in the kitchen and the bathroom, doing the design really nicely, and then they don't get enough for the actual flip. So it's a really risky business to be in if you don't do it correctly.
So from a seasoned fixer and flipper, what are the key points that you would tell a new fix and flip person? The key things that they should be keeping in mind that actually increases the value of a property. Like just take anything as an example, and let's talk about that a little
I
bit.
would say design for sure. Design is the biggest thing that most people just don't really focus on, especially I work a lot with male flippers. Guys don't really have that eye for design most of the time. And so they'll just grab whatever's on sale at Home Depot and then just, put it into the bathrooms and the kitchens. And then when the woman who's primarily the one that is actually making the decision to buy the house doesn't like the style of it, they end up having the house stay on the market.
Okay, so that's good, but then so you're saying that they should think more from when they're trying to flip something, they should more focus on um, hiring a good interior designer, get it designed right, and then do the flip. Is that what you would recommend?
I would, whenever you're under contract for a flip, I would immediately contact an interior designer to get that sketching and all that going. Yeah.
Okay, so once that is the case, then you have to have a budget for something like this.
Mhm.
Um, what is the scale like so that you're not going to overdo it because there's no point in creating a Taj Mahal when it's not going to sell for that price.
Yeah. I mean, it's very risky because ideally when you're wanting to flip that house, you would bring your workers in there, get their pricing. You should have an idea with your materials what it's going to cost, and then you're going to want to work backwards. So if you can sell the house for 300,000, then what are you purchasing it for? What are you putting material wise? And then what is your profit? So you've got to work backwards to see how much money you can actually make on it.
Okay. So what was your biggest challenge as you know, as a fixer upper kind of a person? What is like I'm pretty sure what you are facing that might be the same thing most of the other fix and flippers are also having, and also the construction. So what was your biggest
I would
challenge?
say my biggest issue was when people flip houses, they get really heavily taxed because you're not holding the house long term. So we call it capital gains here in this lovely country, and it's you get taxed very, very heavily. So a lot of the times, if you're not taking that into consideration, you think you're making a profit of $50,000, but you're not, because when it comes times to do your taxes, you're getting charged a significantly high tax bracket because it was the capital gains on there. So that was the biggest issue. And then also having to always have onto the next deal, onto the next deal. Like if you don't have another property to invest in and flip, then you just have money sitting around. And the worst thing to do is have money not working for you or have yourself get overly taxed on these things, which was another reason that I decided to get into the multifamily side, because with residential, you can't really escape the capital gains side of things. Whereas with multifamily, we've got the depreciation, and our investors, whenever they invest, they get those the K1s where they're able to depreciate and they're able to help that lower their taxes. So that was a huge bonus where you're not only making money passively, but you're also getting your taxes depreciated. It's a huge win, and that's not something that's seen in the residential side. As well as my money sitting. When you've got a multifamily deal going on, you buy it and then it's 3 or 5 or 7 years, depending on how long it's going to take for us to, reposition that apartment building. But you know that for the next 3 or 5 years, your money's making money because you're going to be making the passive income quarterly. So you know that your money's working for you, and you don't have to constantly think, okay, where's my money going to go into the next flip? And then that's another problem. Say I do 3 flips in a year, I have to pay capital gains 3 times. Like you have to pay the taxes. It's not like you get taxed one time for all the money. You've got to pay for each property. Whereas with the apartments, you put your money into the deal and then you get depreciation. So it's a huge bonus.
So to all the people out there who are into fix and flips and contractors, this is something that I don't know if this is the same challenges that you are facing, but I'm pretty sure that is what Catherine was facing at that time, and she figured it out that okay, hey, I'm making money. Obviously, then there is a challenge that hey, I am not making money while I'm not flipping, right? Because you got to be constantly be looking out for the next property and the next property and the next property. So
Yeah.
you're not doing that. If you're not getting that, then yes, you have a problem. Especially when the challenges are in the current economic conditions where it's very expensive, and now you got to figure out like okay, hey, obviously there are different ways, right? You will probably find someone who's like they're going through some sort of divorce, or somebody has died in the family and things like that, and there's certain things that's going through a situation, and you can go in and do this, but then you have a whole bunch of people doing the same thing as well. So there is a lot of competition as well that comes into it. So that's all depends on those things. So how did you, Catherine, well, obviously, I know that you're a broker, so you have an advantage. But what would you suggest to those who are doing fix and flips today? Uh, what are the things that they can do that can get them a property faster?
Well, that's the problem, right? Right now, in the economy that we have with interest rates being so high, it's really hard. Buyers can't afford things. It's getting really hard. And most of my, even like my colleagues, my plumber, my roofer, my electrician, these are my guys. I've worked with them for years. They're like family to me. A lot of them, they see what I'm doing and they're like, okay, well, I want to make my money work for me. And the biggest one, I had a conversation with my plumber a couple of weeks ago because he bought $100,000 truck cash. Okay, it's insane to me, and a lot of, I'm sorry, you guys, but I know you guys do it. They love the cars. They buy these expensive cars. They buy them cash because most of the times our roofers, our electricians, our plumbers, our HVAC guys, our trades, they get large sums of money whenever they're doing these projects, right? So they can make 10, 15, 20, depending on the size of the project, they can make 30, 40, $50,000, right? And so they're making this huge chunk of money and they don't know what to do with it. So what they do is they pretty much put it in their bank account and then they just pay all the bills and then they're just, it's trickling down from the money. And then once it's time for the next big project, then they reinforce the bank account and then it's again. So you go through this roller coaster of you get all this money and it gets depleted and then you get money again and it gets depleted. But the biggest issue is most trades don't, they're business owners, they're entrepreneurs. They don't have a 401k, they don't have a retirement, they don't have any of these things set in place because nobody educates us on these things, especially the minority. No one teaches us, hey, you need to set money aside when you're older, you're going to need this. You're not going to be a 70-year-old plumber. Like you need something to fall back on. So this is the biggest issue that most of us have, especially the minority, where they don't educate us. And then fast forward 20 years later, we don't have anything to fall back on because again, we had this roller coaster where we blew everything that we made. So a couple weeks ago, I was talking to my plumber who bought $100,000 truck, and I'm like, I don't understand why you would ever do that. And he's like, well, I've got the money, I'm gonna spend it. Why not? I'm like, but why wouldn't you invest it? And in his head, he's like, well, houses are too expensive to buy right now because again, poor education means that you have one option. And our people, for us, investments are you buy a house and you rent it. And as soon as you do that, you're like, you're the top person, you're amazing, you're an investor because you've got one or two rentals and you've got tenants in there that are paying you a couple bucks. And for us, that's huge. So that's a huge opportunity. But right now, with the economy being, the interest rates being so high, it's just not possible to buy a house, especially if you're going to get a loan, and then pay the high interest rate for that mortgage and then try to rent it and make a profit. And then not to mention having to deal with the tenants and the toilets and the termites and the issues because at that point you become a slave to your actual rental and that's not passive income either. Trust me, I had that too. I had my houses that I was renting and my tenants were amazing, but a house is a house. There's a roof leak, the toilet's clogged up. I don't want to have to deal with that. So they think when I was talking to my guys, and that's why I wanted to really have this webinar because I really see the need for contractors and plumbers and roofers to understand that there's something else out there than just buying a residential house, one house, and then just making $400-500 a month. So they think that they can buy that and then, oh, well, I'll just buy another house and another house and I'll have 8 houses. And oh my God, that's great. I've got 8 houses now. When in reality, you can go buy a 100-unit apartment and make a really good quarterly cash flow on that without having to deal with anything. For those of you guys that don't know, on the multifamily side, when you invest in the apartments, you're not dealing with any of these things because you have a team that is doing all these things for you. You have a property management company that is actually taking care of all of this for you. They deal with the tenants, they deal with the issues. And I'm actually going to put on the Q&A section, I'm going to put our book that you can find on our website, blueringinvestors.com. It's a passive income ebook that Sanjay wrote. It's amazing. It's for people that don't know anything about multifamily. It just goes over the breakdown of what is multifamily, what is syndication, and it just helps you understand those basics. So that's the biggest issue that I've seen where people are getting all this money and then blowing it instead of investing it and putting it into a retirement or an IRA and making their money work for them. So I would say that's my biggest issue that I'm seeing right now. I know that
Okay,
was
Dave Ramsey, bring
a
investors.
I know that was a lot.
So
That was a lot.
Yeah, I know. I know. It's like you got into that Dave Ramsey mode about,
No.
where the
I'm
money is like
passionate
getting
about
lost.
this. I'm passionate about it because no one educates us. Like I don't like how we are not educated about this. And I try to shove it down people's throats. Again, my workers are family to me. So I just want to take care of them and look after them. So I'm really passionate about people just looking into their future and just trying to save because we never know what's going to happen. A lot of our workers, they are hands-on, they're blue collar. I mean, they're working 10, 12, 14 hours a day, and it's a lot, it's very heavy work. They're in the heat, they're carrying very heavy bags. If you get hurt as a worker, no one's paying you. If you don't have someone that's working under you, or if you don't have a company where you've got workers lined up, if it's just you, if you get hurt for a month and you have to recover, you hurt your back or something, you're not getting any money. What do you do at that point? What do you do when you have a family and you've got a wife or a husband and children, and someone has to pay these things? That's why I'm so passionate about the passive income, because with these apartments, you know that every quarter you're getting that money no matter what. And that's a huge deal.
Yeah, no, I think, Catherine, I think you hit a very good point on, like, there were a lot of golden nuggets. And I know you're very passionate. I can tell that you're very passionate about this. Um, but the thing is, why do you, and you did mention that, nobody, educates people about these things. So this is good. This is why I like the platform that we are in. It's not only about us, about our journey, but it is also about understanding people's pains, right? Because the way I see it is, we are here put into this world by God to help others and grow as a team. It's not always about you or me, right? It's all about coming together and helping each other out, educating each other. That was a very keen observation that you had about the education part of it, because um, in our world, it's very, people tell us that, there is money in real estate.
Mhm.
And you'll have all these people who'll say, join our program with the fix and flips. You'll make tons of money,
Yeah,
right? Um, but they don't talk about taxes. They don't talk about the capital gains. They
the
don't talk
ugly
about
side.
okay, you fixed and flipped one property, you sold it, you made about, say, $40,000 out of it, and then what is the next?
Yeah.
Like, are you like you'll be waiting for your next thing for a while before any other project comes in, and then you're fighting around to find the next deal and the next deal. While the money that you made is it's probably getting used, like how you said your plumber bought a truck, $100,000 truck, and it's a depreciating asset. It's not an asset that appreciates, right? So you always need to understand that part. And I know that a lot of us who get into this business, we don't come from doing an MBA or something like that, right? It's like, so it's tribal knowledge that we understand, and we go with things that we see, like two people who have made it very, very successful in that industry, and they talk about it, they brag about it, and then we think, it's that easy. Let's just do it,
Yeah.
right? So that's how it goes. So
It's
I get
definitely
that.
not. And the thing is, I didn't come from a silver spoon. I came. My family was dirt poor. Like we didn't have any money, and no one lent me anything. I didn't have someone just gift me $1 million to start this. It's funny you talk about the flipping seminar because that's where I learned this. I paid they were charging $40,000. And the way for you to get into that seminar, if you didn't have the money, you had to pool like 10, 15, 20 credit cards to pay them to get this education. So I've paid for every education that I've ever learned when it comes to these things with multifamily. It was $35,000. And a lot of people, even my family, they're like, "Are you crazy? You're going to have credit card debt for the rest of your life. And they didn't understand the risk that I was taking. But I'm the first in my family to have a business. I'm the first in my family to not be paycheck to paycheck. I'm the first in my family to not have to worry about, money or struggle because I took that risk. Now, keep in mind, it was a calculated risk. I'm not telling you guys to just go pay somebody $40,000 for a course, but I took the risk. I saw what was there and I literally soaked up all the information and I went with it. And the good thing with this, I just sent you guys the link for the ebook. That's free. We don't charge for our ebooks. There's so many videos on our YouTube and on our website, all free information for you guys to understand multifamily because we want you guys to understand this before you invest in any of this stuff because there's no point of you investing in this if you don't understand it. And that's the biggest problem with people not understanding this as well. Kind of like stocks and Wall Street and all the other investments, they make it so complicated and so hard to understand because they don't want you to understand it. They want you to pay somebody to do it for you. Right? So if you look at a 401k, most of us, 90% of America, if you're working a standard corporate job, you've got a 401k that you can invest in, and you've got someone that's investing that money for you. But what a lot of people don't understand is that you as an individual can actually invest your own 401k money and you can invest it into real estate. So all the investors that I've worked with that pull money from their 401ks, I always tell them, you don't have to take my word for it. Do the research, find the facts yourself. How much did you make on a percentage basis on the portfolios that these people, this company invested for you? It's anywhere from 0.5% to as high, the highest I've ever seen is 4.8%. Depending on how conservative or how aggressive your portfolio is going, right? In this industry, in real estate, you can make 15, 20, 22%. So it's so much higher, but these companies are investing your money. Same thing with the banks. You have your money in a bank and you get 0.05% at the end of the year. Correct me if I'm wrong. Anybody gets any
If you go with
better?
a long-term investment, it could be yeah, it depends. Like they'll have a minimum X number of dollars, like 5,000, $10,000,
Yeah, you can
and
do a
they would probably
CD.
say high yielding account.
Yeah.
You probably might make about 4 or 5%. Yeah,
Right. So you're capped at 5%. I've not seen a high yield savings account that does more than 5%.
exactly.
And the thing is, again, they're taking your money, they're taking it to the real estate side, they're making their money on that side, and then they give you your measly 2% or 4% because they're keeping the other 15% for
And
themselves.
plus, you're getting taxed on that 4%
And
too.
you're getting taxed on it. Exactly. So it's like, it doesn't make any sense. And once you actually get into this information and you start researching it, you're like, what the heck? Like, why would I keep my money where it's depreciating? Because if you have your money in a bank, it's depreciating. The dollar loses its value every single day, right? So when you keep your money in the bank and it's depreciating, you think you have $100,000 now, you have $100,000 in 5 years, you don't. Whereas in real estate, it actually appreciates with the investment. So you're able to keep your money appreciating and then your return actually being a high return versus making a couple cents on the dollar when it comes to your portfolios. So all these things, people just have to sit down and just try to educate themselves. And that's why I loved, when I first saw Blue Ring, that's what I loved about the company because if you go on the website, you can find the books, you can find the videos, you can find the webinars that we do where we have live people come and ask us questions. There's no, secrets here. There's no, you just have to listen to us because we're better than you or we're smarter than you. If you have a question, ask us, and that's how you find these things out. I'm the first one, and Sanjay, you can tell them when I first met you, I was like, how do you do this? How do you do this? How do you ask you a million questions? Because I wanted to understand everything about it.
Yeah, and for those who came in a little bit later, I just want to let you guys know that this is a very open kind of a webinar Feel free to chime in anytime, ask questions. If you don't agree with our opinion or what we just said, feel free to just voice your opinion. We are
Yep.
not here to preach. We are here to share our experiences with you and also learn from your experiences.
Yeah.
So please feel free to chime in anytime. You guys are all able to get on and unmute yourself and you know talk about it, whatever you guys want to, and we will be more than happy to answer your questions or just a discussion. It doesn't have to be, if this is not a Q&A kind of a thing, but chime in anytime you want. But Catherine, you made some very valid points. Like number one, even if you keep it in the high yielding, savings account, you make about 4 to 5%. Obviously, you get taxed on that as well. When it comes down to fix and flips as well, there were a lot of golden nuggets that you threw out there, right? Which said that, hey, unless you get the next fix and flip kind of a contract, you are like just stagnated. A lot of them, because they don't understand the tax savings that comes in with investing in multifamily and other investments that as blue ring investors and other syndicators that they could go with,
Yeah.
how that benefits them as well, right? So those are good things. But what is it that you when you got started, and I know you come from humble beginnings, right? I come from also an humble beginning. Even though I come from India, I'm a pharmacist by education. I came to America in 2001. I could not use my pharmacy degree. I started on the floor with $7.25 in actually $7.25 and 50 cents in shift premium per hour. And obviously, I grew within the company. I did well for myself over a period of time, just like any other immigrant does, because we work very hard to make money. But I also realized that I was paying. Do you know one thing, Catherine? I used to pay like $80,000 in taxes. That was my tax. I used to pay $80,000 in taxes.
That's crazy.
And I was like, man, the only person who's becoming rich is the company. And now I'm not doing that great. Like, okay, on paper, it looks wonderful, right? Like when I started off at $7, my first year, I made like $14,000. And then 9/11 happened. And then I started working as a mechanic because that it was paying a little bit higher. And I used to do all of my second shift, all of my half of third shift and half of first shift,
Yeah.
7 days a week, right? I did that for 3 years, and the maximum I did was like $52,000, right? And then later on, okay, God was good to me, and I grew within the company, and I started making more money. But with more money also came more taxes, and also, yeah, there is a limit that the government puts you in how much you can put in your 401k in a year, right? So after that $21,000, what you put in, the rest is all getting taxed,
Mhm.
right? So it was something that I was like, man, I'm working hard, I'm making more money. It feels good on paper, but I'm not seeing the money. So I get where you are coming from when you said, all this thing, and this is what we end up doing, right? We end up buying nicer things, go on much bigger, buy bigger vehicle, buy things that doesn't bring value,
Um,
and we think, okay, this is great because we have that excess money, not knowing what to do with it because keeping it in the bank doesn't make sense. And just like how you said, Catherine, I started putting money in real estate, but more in single family houses. And then over a period of time, I realized that it was more of a headache because now you got to fix everything. You got to make sure that your tenants are happy. And the other thing part was, because it's a single family home, if there is no tenant, guess what? You got to pay
yes.
the mortgage. And if
Yes.
something breaks down, you got to fix it. right?
Yeah.
So all those things were coming in, and I was like, man, I'm not making any money. I'm losing money,
Mhm.
right? So I saw that part of it. And then later on, I started passively investing in multifamily, and I started seeing, wow, I'm getting this, mailbox money coming to me all the
It's almost
time.
weird, right? It's weird. You're just like, you don't have to do anything.
Yeah, nobody's calling me. Nobody's telling me that, hey, my toilet is broken or my floor is broken. This is leaking. That is leaking. None of
Yeah.
those things. So
Yeah.
that was what got me interested in this, and that is how I kind of educated myself into it. And then I got into this mentorship program, and I learned more about it, and I started actively becoming investor in this kind of things. Um, so let me ask you this, Catherine. You know, everybody thinks that you know that they cannot afford to buy something big,
Yeah.
just like you mentioned before.
Mhm.
So it's a mindset thing. Am I correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So when you were like, because I think you'll be reiterating a little bit things that what you talked about earlier, is that when so you started off, and you said that, hey, um, you don't come from a privileged family, you had difficulties, coming up with, getting into an education side of things, and then starting off, and then you started off with the brokerage firm, or you started with the fix and flip before the brokerage.
Flipping first. Yeah.
Yeah, you started off with flips and fix, and then you became a realtor, and then you became so there was a thought process behind every single thing. So tell me, Catherine, what was it growing up, um, when it came down to, like, because a lot of people, when we talk and they see us successful, they don't see the trial and tribulations and our past.
Yeah.
So tell me, what was it growing up? How difficult was it for you?
Yeah.
And how was, because what happens is situations either make you or break you.
Mhm.
And I'm pretty sure a lot of people in your case would have not been able to make it because they would have been got into self-pity, or they would have said, I cannot do this. So tell us a little bit about what that was like, and how did you, change, how did you become more strong-headed about doing this?
Yeah. So I'll start with one thing. The biggest thing that I think people need to understand is that anyone can do this. I am not the smartest person in this room at all. Like at all. I don't have better connections. I don't have it's not anything special about me. Anyone, everyone can do this. It's just really a mindset thing. If you set your mind to it, you can do it. I grew up, I'm one of 8 kids, okay? And I'm one of the youngest. So I have a lot of older brothers and sisters that they always made an excuse for everything. It's our childhood, it's our parents, it's the economy, it's the government. There's always an excuse. It's so easy in this world to blame someone else for your own problems. I remember I was very, very young, maybe 6 or 7. A core memory for me was when we were food shopping and my mom was getting the food for all of us and her card got declined, and she was like, the lady says, well, you're gonna have to put some things back. And to me it was one of the most embarrassing moments. There's a huge line, she's having to pull things out because we can't afford it. And I'm literally 6 or 7 years old, and I always swore to myself, I'm like, I will never be this way. This is horrible. This is such a horrible feeling. This is so humiliating. This is so embarrassing. And that pushed me. All the problems, all the issues, everything I ever went through when I went to college, I paid it for myself. I got grants, I got scholarships. No one ever gave me anything. And I could have used all of that as an excuse to be a nobody, or I could use it to fuel the fire that I needed to become successful. And to this day, I have older brothers and sisters that they're maybe working a regular job or they're working for someone else and they're always complaining about money, but they don't do anything about it. And I present to them opportunities. Keep in mind, they've seen me doing this for years and they say I'm successful, I am. And the fear of not doing, like, just the fear, if there's a 1% chance that I can lose this, they're like, nope, I don't want to do it. Mm-mm. The fear eats them up so much to the point where they rather stay poor than do anything in their life. And that's the problem with most of us that today is we're so afraid of taking any risk that we just don't take any risk at all. And we're fine. We're fine in our bubble. We're good. My money is safe in the bank. Nobody's touching it. And that's the biggest issue. We are so conditioned to believe that the government can protect our money. It's protected. $250,000 in my bank. That's the most that they can protect in a bank account. It's insured, it's FDI insured. I'm good. So because of that mindset, the government has been able to make billions of dollars and probably trillions of dollars at this point off of people because they're like, yeah, we'll protect your money. And then they're pulling all of it out because they're only supposed to, I believe it's 10% that they have to actually keep. So they pull all the other money out and then they go invest it, they go risk it, they go make the money, and then they give you your 0.05%. And that's the problem where the people that are willing to take the risk are profiting off of those that are too afraid to do it. So the mindset's going to be your biggest issue and just taking the risk and just doing it.
Awesome. So all great things, Catherine. So let's give people the opportunity to unmute themselves. Please, guys, feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions or give your opinions. Or if there is anything that we can help answer, please do that.
And if you guys
Feel
don't
free
want to
to
ask any questions,
yeah, Catherine. I think if there are few people who speak Hispanic, you might want to
yeah.
say something to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Si hay alguien que tiene alguna pregunta, me dejan saber. Also, you guys can go on our website and you can schedule a private meeting with us if that makes you feel a little bit comfortable. You can always reach us via email or just having a call with us. And again, if you guys have any questions, we're here. We're going to be doing these webinars often, so you guys can join anytime. And hopefully this helped you guys understand just again, the biggest thing, this Zoom call was specifically for my blue collar workers, anyone out there that's making money and then just blowing it all and doesn't know where to start with investments. I know it's hard, trust me. Before I ever got into multifamily, it was like another language. It's a lot of information. So just start with the book that I added to the chat, and then you guys can go on our website and then you can go from there.
Awesome. So those who took the time to get on the webinar, obviously this is a recorded thing, so we will be sending it out to all those people who had signed up and were not able to get on the call. But those who took their time to actually get on this call, I know that you could have done something differently. You could have probably be sitting and with your family right now, but you chose to be on this call. So um, a, a heartfelt thank you from us to you. And, we appreciate you being here in person. And if there is anything, as Catherine mentioned, if there is anything that you want to speak in private, we do have, if you go on our website, you can schedule a call with either one of us, and we'll be there for you.
I added it on the chat too. So you guys have the link. If you have any questions, let us know.
Okay. Awesome, guys.
Thanks,
If
guys.
there is